I'll set it up and then I'll say over to you, Max. Can you just explain that, please, Max?
What?
Could you just explain what I just promised the audience?
Yes.
Could you just go ahead and just justify that claim?
Yes. So we tried all of them, but then we were skint and we just went for one.
we tried. They're not cheap.
They're
They're
not
not
cheap.
cheap. They are not cheap. It's not like the kind of the dates that I used to go on. That's how I would qualify. The shortest date I ever went on was the lady said, "I only drink champagne." So that ended very quickly.
At which point you close the door and say, "Yep, bye."
At which point I asked for the bill and then left. I said I'm just going to the toilet and then never came back. Okay, so believe it or not, we are live.
Wow, I am alive. Yes.
We are live on to the world.
Oh no! Wow.
Hey, guess what?
What?
Last week my audio sucked, and I was thinking, oh man, I've really got to sort this out. What's wrong with this microphone? And I realized I hadn't plugged it in.
Yeah, that normally does help.
So this week will be exponentially better just by the nature of the fact that I plugged the microphone in.
And he realized that because he just put his glasses on.
Well, this is the
and not because he can actually see what he's doing, is because he's smarter now. He's wearing glasses.
That's exactly right, Max. Well done. Thank you for pointing that out. We've got a side-by-side view. I wonder if that's how it's recording.
It's not recording like that. It's recording it as if I talk.
No, that's a speaker view. I've set it to speaker view now. I think it will record that way now. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I don't want everyone seeing you all the time. They got to have a look. They got to have me in the full screen.
Oh wow.
That full screen experience of me, because look at my hair. I haven't. I keep on putting off getting my hair cut because I don't like any of the barbers in the area.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to go out with them.
No, they're all young and trendy. They all want to put zigzags through my hair or something. There's no old barbers around here. I need the old barbers. The guys who are.
Just go to them. They will figure out that you're not, a spring chicken, and they'll say, "Well, that's fine."
What do you mean they'll figure out I'm not a spring chicken?
They're clever guys. I've seen them. They wear glasses.
What are you trying to say? Yes, right.
I'm trying to politely say that you're not young.
I'm no longer in my 20s. That's correct, Max.
No, it's I think you're at the point where people call you sir.
Yeah. And people when people in their 50s and 60s call me sir, that's when I got to start to worry.
Yeah.
So look, you're going to be worried or wondering what on earth, how you can make a show just talking about baskets. Here's the thing. We're going to go down the rabbit hole, Max. We're taking the blue pill, or is it the red pill?
I don't know.
We're taking
I don't know. The blue pill, I think it does something different.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not mixing up my metaphors, am I? Am I?
I don't know.
Wasn't that the Matrix, the blue pill and the red pill? Don't try and get me in trouble. It was the Matrix.
Which version of Matrix are you talking about?
No, don't pretend. This is a coffee show for children.
Right.
I wonder if there's a niche there we could do. Coffee for kids.
Are you product placing the grinder?
No, I think it's actually very difficult to.
Are you product placing the grinder now? The niche grinder?
No, kids have money these days.
I know.
They have money these days. I don't know, but in my day I had 2 pence. That was my pocket money. 2 pence.
So parents, start your children on espresso and on coffee machines, so they will not have money to buy drugs. Yeah,
that's exactly what is a drug. It's a different kind. It's a nice drug.
It's legal.
So it's exactly. So baskets. We're gonna talk about baskets because we're gonna make it a reasonably quick show. Yeah. Also, I'm gonna say just as a news item up front, there will be no show next week because next weekend I have to panic. So it's COP26 for those that aren't don't follow environmental things. That's absolutely fine. But COP26 happens not very often.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, COP26 only happens once because it's the 26th one. But the next one will be COP27. So do you know what? This is a once in a lifetime COP26 event. It's the event where everyone gets together and makes promises that they're going to immediately break to do with the environment.
Yep.
But it's actually quite an important one because it's on the top of everyone's agenda at the moment, global warming, etc., yada, yada. But we are doing a special report on it, we've been working with actually a number of people, including some people who've been involved in the legislation, lobbyists, etc., on different aspects of the environment. You're putting your face. Don't pull that face. Look interested, damn you. Look, I know this isn't interesting to a lot of people, but the thing is, we're doing a special next week. This is what I'm trying to say. I've been working on it for months, Max. I'm not even joking. I probably 2 months been working on these stories to look at how the industry is putting together regulations that's going to affect coffee and cocoa. Probably more on the cocoa side, but it does also relate to coffee. So we're talking about deforestation stuff. We're talking about responsible disclosure, the big companies, what they have to, the new laws that are coming in that talk about sustainable reporting and what they actually have to say about transparency in their supply chain, and stuff that's going to be very boring to a lot of people, but it's kind of important also. One thing I would say, so I'm going to base it, I should have had this ready by now. It's not ready. So, and then on Friday, I've got the builders in, and Saturday, my dad's coming around. So Sunday, I will be panic because it's got to go out on Sunday. I will be panic completing all of these stories to go out. So we won't do a show. It's the bottom line. So we'll announce the winner of this month's bag of beans bonanza.
Banana.
No, it's not a banana.
It's a banana.
We could do a banana. We could
banana beans.
No, stop. No, I'm not going to get sidetracked. We'll do the Bonanza award-winning ceremony. I should get trumpets, and you can have a little cord cutting thing, a little ribbon cutting event the week after.
Right.
Alrighty. That's what we're going to do. Oh, you got fire. Does your wife know that you've got something that's flammable? She'll take it away. I'm going to tell her. I'm going to text her right after this. You know, you're not allowed to play with dangerous things. So we're going to be talking about baskets. And the reason we're going to talk about baskets is because I wanted something quick and easy that I could get away with.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do a complicated thing I had to do a lot of research on. But also, it's more complicated than it looks.
Exactly. You started with, yeah, it's going to be easy. No, it's not.
It's not actually that easy. It's kind of, it's a bit annoying in that it did actually take me more time to research than I planned. But here's the thing. If you have got an espresso machine and you're using the standard, and I'm, by the way, for the audio listeners, I'm waving a basket.
He's waving a basket, and he's waving the wrong size of basket because, guys, you shouldn't use the 21-gram baskets.
That was an 18-gram basket. Yeah, you see? Yeah, no, it is. I'll show you. Look up the screen here. It's the VST 18-gram.
Right. Okay. It is the 18-gram, but my monitor is not compatible with my laptop. So
yeah, your monitor is
bigger.
widescreen and it made it the wrong size.
But anyway, don't use the 21 grams if you unless you really have to. Pointless.
Well, I've got a 22-gram basket here. I'm going to tell you when and when I do not use it. But I also
never.
Sometimes I'll tell you when I do. But we're going to get onto it. It's a fascinating story because and I was waving it for no purpose other than to do something with my hand. But the whole thing, you go and take a look at these companies. It is interesting. Does it make a difference? Let's just cut straight to the chase, Max. Let's not put people out of their misery.
Does it make a difference? Yes. Why?
Yes, it does.
Because
how long has this show been going for, by the way? Because I was looking at
30 minutes.
No. How long have we been talking for already? Actually, it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, I was looking at the analytics. People listen on average to 10 minutes and 24 seconds. So I think what we should do is
we're done.
We should talk for 10 minutes and 24 seconds and then just keep the thing running. We could read the paper or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to do anything after 10 minutes and 24 seconds.
So, long story short, does it make a difference? Yes. Big difference. Why? Because of reasons. Yeah.
And that's it. That's all you get. Next week, tune in to find out what the reasons are. Oh, wait, there isn't a show next week.
The way that, because of the way they're built. So the way that the normal ones are built is they're pressed and then they are they're ground so that you have holes that are sort of round when you look at them. When you start going into detail and you look into a microscope, the holes are irregular. Yes. So some are bigger, some are smaller. It's a minute difference, but it is a difference. When you're starting to push everything to the limit, to the edge, because you're extracting and anything will affect your extraction, then you want to be as precise as possible. And that's when having an IMS or VST basket makes a difference, because the holes in those cases are actually very precise. They are engineered. They are still pressed, because obviously that's the only way you can make those holes, but they are pressed with a much higher precision. They're not just, it's a mesh that is welded there somehow. It's a much higher precision.
Think of car tires. But I tell you what, before we even think of car tires, because I'm, the tread patterns and everything else that goes into it.
Yeah.
I'm just jumping onto the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, just the YouTube, and we've got a comment which I can't get to. I can't edit because I don't know how to do stuff. From Sergey, which says, "Hi guys," and he wants to know why he says he uses 22 gram. Like me, Sergey. Not always, but sometimes.
But that's no point. There's too much coffee.
Says who?
Me.
Why?
Because.
Wow, because Sergey, and there's your answer. Well, Sergey's satisfied. Great. We're here to serve, my friend. I don't know. Like I don't know. I didn't
21 grams in a lot of cases, if you need so much coffee to get an extraction that is good enough, you're probably doing something wrong, in my opinion. I think you don't need that much coffee for an espresso. I mean, it's a triple shot. It's a lot of coffee.
So here's the thing. I'm going to argue Sergey's point. That way, if I lose, it's Sergey's fault. Okay. If I win, I'll just sneakily claim the winning argument for myself. So what I found using, and we'll get onto the whole, because the holes and the whole engineering of it becomes important. I'm actually going to explain why the holes are important. I know. This is why I got the glasses on now.
Okay, right. Not to read anything on the screen.
I can't see anything because I'm actually short-sighted. So this is right in front of me. These glasses have no point whatsoever. I can't see anything. But in fact, I hope I'm pointing the right direction. But
just the general direction.
I just generally know the sound seems to be coming from that direction. So
you have headphones on.
So the 22 grams. Yeah, the 22 grams. What I find is sometimes, depending on the coffee, and I have no scientific, this is all completely anecdotal evidence. So there's the oxymoron there of the anecdotal and evidence. But what I find is that if you grind a little bit coarser, for some coffees, grind a little bit coarser, but put more coffee in there, I find I get more flavor out. I get a better flavor, I get a better result, better flavor. Of course, I'm going through more coffee. And this is the downside. So I will by default be going to an 18-gram basket. But then if I'm not getting absolutely, like I feel like I'm not getting amazing coffee, I'll certainly go to the 22 gram and see how I can tune it for the 22 gram, see if I get better results. And sometimes I absolutely do. And that's, I believe Scott Rao was originally the first guy to.
Yeah, Scott Rao has some weird taste though, because a lot of the things,
capabilities, superpowers.
Yes, absolutely. But I don't agree with his approach. For me, it doesn't work like that. If you have X amount of grams of coffee, your extraction should be tailored to obtain the right amount of flavors out. Right? You with me? So if you're using 21 grams and you're going 21 in 40 something, 40 something gram, then you should be able to have the same flavors extracted in 18 in 36. And so you should also be able to get the same, 7 grams in 14 grams, because the dilution is the same. So if your dosing affects your extraction, then you're doing something wrong in the extraction. There's something wrong in the extraction, not necessarily in the dosing.
All I heard was blah, 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 logic, blah, blah, something or other.
From my personal perspective, because what I do is I work a lot with extractions, and if there is 10 to be extracted, whether these 10 are, I mean, 10 per gram. Let's say we have 10 flavor units per gram. Whether I extract 1 gram, 10 gram, or 20 grams, I still have to get those 10 units per gram out. If I extract in the same amount, in the same volume, the concentration should be the same.
Let me argue some science here with you, Max, because that's my strong point.
Yes.
So one of the things you note when you go and you look at the manufacturer's specifications of these baskets is that when they are making a deeper basket, this is a deeper, so the 22 grams, it's not just more coffee. There's a different physical dynamic to it. First of all, the basket is deeper. Secondly, you'll see there will be more holes and possibly a different pattern. So actually what you get is a different dynamic on the extraction. And sometimes that results in a better extraction. Sometimes not so good. Sometimes what I'm getting out is too overpowering, whatever. Maybe I screw it up. I don't know. But there are definitely times where I can whack 22 grams. Now, this is a VST basket. We're going to come on to, and we should probably go back actually to sort of the agenda or whatever.
So, for example, IMS or VST.
Well, it's fascinating. So, I want to show this up here. So these VST baskets, I had some IMS baskets I've used as well, but they were the IMS baskets specifically made for the Gaggia Classic Pro when I had the Gaggia Classic Pro, obviously. And they have concave shapes. Now, so if you take a look at, there's quite a few people out there or professionals out there that will say the IMS gives a slightly better flavor for them, but a little bit more nuanced or a bit, whatever. But only slightly. But the VSTs, most people will say, are a little bit more pedantic and a little bit more consistent once you've got them dialed in. And from my understanding, this is also true of my experience, the VSTs don't give a range of weight. So they don't say put in 18 to 20. The IMSs do. The IMSs say you can put in 17 to 19 grams or 18 to 20 grams, etc. And they give you a bit of range. Yeah. The VSTs say, no, this is an 18 gram. You should put 18 grams in here.
Which is wrong, actually.
And well, yeah, I will dose 1 gram more or less, and generally more on those.
Because you typically use medium light roast.
Yes.
And if you use light roast or very light roast, you might find that you need to put more. If you use very dark roasts, you will find that you need to put significantly less, even 14 grams in an 18 gram basket sometimes.
Yeah. So now let's just go back, because this brings me on. That will actually segue me on to talking about flow rate. But before we go into it, let's talk about the differences between the IMS and the VST, because it's not just about, hole patterns, actually. There's a couple of different things. So IMS, just go back a second. Both of these companies are quite old. Actually, I'm not sure how old VST is. I think they've been around for quite a long time, but IMS has been around since World War II.
Yeah.
And so most of the baskets, except for the really high-end machines like the La Marzocco's, etc., most of the baskets you get with the machine are pretty cheap, stamped steel kind of things, where the holes are just drilled and they get little rough surfaces. So let's explain why those rough surfaces on the holes, or the irregularity of the holes, before we get even into the shapes of the basket, the patterns, why that makes a difference. Because, oh, sorry, did you want to say why?
You go ahead. You have it.
I was on a roll. I thought I was doing really well. Okay, great. So what you find is that where the holes have any kind of burrs, or they're not perfectly smooth and not perfectly round, if they're misshapen or they have any irregularities to them, any roughness to them, that what can happen is they can get blocked, they can get clogged. So, and what happens when one hole gets clogged, if you think about it, even in a very small way, it means that the water or the pressure is then moved to the area around it, which means you've now got an irregular flow of pressure and water flow. And what then happens is it tends to clog the holes nearby to it. So by having any kind of irregularity on these holes, or the holes aren't particularly well polished, etc., you'll get a uneven extraction. And that's why you'll see people out on the internet taking microscope pictures of the holes on these things, because they want to identify the shapes of the holes, the patterns of the hole. You can see the patterns of the holes, but the shapes of the holes and how smooth those holes are. So companies like, I think it's IMS was talking about, it could have been VST, but certainly one of them talks, I think it's IMS, talks about how they make sure the interior of the holes are polished. So not even just the surface, but the hole itself, the little bit that is the hole, is actually polished to make it smooth and to allow the flow to go through.
Yes. And also there is the consistency of the sizes.
And it's very important. So you've got consistency of size, not just obviously within the basket, but from basket to basket, but also within the actual basket. You want to make sure all those holes are the same size. They have specific patterns, some of them, just like your tire tread, because they have worked out that certain patterns are better for certain, extractions. And they want to be smooth. And you think they're just going to be straight down, but not always. Sometimes they have a shape to them. I know IMS, I think, have patented some of the shapes of the holes.
VST, I think it is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
anyway,
I had a 50-50 chance.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I think they're equivalent because they're both premium baskets. It's just try which one works best for you.
Yeah.
Personally, what I've ended up doing is I went for the IMS because it's cheaper. IMS normally are cheaper than VST.
Not the latest ones. I think you're right. They were, but the latest ones, if you take a look, they've got two latest ones. They've got the performance range, and they've got, is it competition and performance competition?
Yeah, I both the competition basket from IMS and VST. The IMS is cheaper, and they're both all of them are treated with nano coating, which makes it easier to clean up. It's nothing major, but it's a little something.
Yeah,
it's basically it's a coating it's a treatment that they've done on the steel, so that it's easier to clean. You still have to clean your basket, but it's easier to it comes off easy.
I've always wondered about those nano coatings and whether they not whether they're effective or not. From what I've heard, that doesn't really make much of a difference. Maybe, as you say, it's easy.
Probably doesn't, but it makes it easier to clean it, and if it makes it easier to clean it, it's also less hassle for when you do that.
Yeah.
But it does make a massive difference, just the regularity of the holes and the sizes, because yes, as you were saying, if you have different sizes, you will have consistently a systematic error on your extraction, because if you have an area where the holes are smaller or they're more irregular, they have more jagged edges, so that they catch on particles, which makes them clogged.
Yeah,
which makes them clog. And the holes, by the way, the holes in the standard baskets are smaller. Don't be fooled, they're smaller, which means that they can clog easier.
It also means, go on.
Plus, they are irregular, so they will catch on particles. They will build up dirt as well, so they will also be more clogged, which means that in time you will end up having systematic error on the extraction, because some areas of your basket are going to have a slower flow, which will generate channeling, not in the standard type of way of channeling, but it will generate. It will have more resistance on one side. That doesn't matter how you prepare your pack. You're going to have more resistance on a certain area of your basket, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. That's right. And interestingly, the design of the IMS is slightly more concave at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And they explain that as saying what their idea is to direct the flow of water to the center.
Yeah.
Obviously it's very good if you're using a bottomless portafilter. It looks really groovy, but
Mm-hmm.
does that result in VST, they make their baskets without the concave. They're straight down, they're ridgeless. I think both are ridgeless.
All of them are ridged. You can have them both ridged and ridgeless. And that is there's a lot of debate about you should have it ridged or ridgeless. It just makes a difference when you take it out of the portafilter. If it has a ridge, it will lock you in place and it will be harder to take out. That's all the difference there is.
I heard that sort of the ridge makes a difference in terms of the water.
It's not in the water flow, so I don't see how it can make a difference.
Okay. Well, certainly, when you've got the concave, you've got less coffee at the bottom than you do at the top. Won't that create an uneven, like it's trying to center that flow of water? I mean, VST's argument is that you want the water to go straight down and then through the holes at the bottom.
There are two schools for this. So let's start with physics. So you have a funnel with a laminar flow that you start with a laminar flow at the top, because your pack is going to be, first of all, filled with water. So it doesn't really matter what you put between your coffee and your shower head. Those mesh baskets, they do nothing. They just help you to keep your group head, your
clean.
Shower screen clean. That's all. They do not help the water distribution because they have no resistance. No. So that said, your headspace between the coffee pack and the shower head gets filled up. Your coffee gets soaked, and then you have a column of water that's pressing evenly on it. Your column of water is pressing evenly, so you can imagine that these, if you've done your pack preparation properly, distributed properly, and leveled everything properly and tamped properly, you have a linear flow towards the bottom. So you have water flowing at speed x through your pack, right? That will make your contact time with every single grain of coffee a certain amount. If you have these as a linear flow, it's very easy to have. So if you have a perfect cylinder, it's very easy to have these as consistent as possible, because the speed in all of the areas is going to be the same. So your contact time is going to be the same. If you make it as a funnel, then you're going to start introducing variables, because you have a column of water that gets narrowed down. So your speed of your linear speed of the flow of the water at the top is going to be lower than what it is at the bottom, because you have the same volume of water going at the top into, the same volume of water at the top and the same volume of water at the bottom, but you have a larger amount of water going at the top. So at the top you have a linear flow of, let's say, 1 centimeter per second. At the bottom, if it's half the size, it's going to be 4 times as much, because of complicated physics.
No, that's how the math works, right?
So it's not, it actually, I think it goes to the square, but anyway, I don't remember the Bernoulli equation at the moment, and it doesn't really matter.
It slips my mind just at the moment too.
Yes, it doesn't really matter. What it matters is if you have 2 different diameters, if you have a restriction, you're going to have an increase in flow and an increase in pressure. Because that will act as a funnel. So if you're trying to push water through a narrow opening, you have more back pressure, and that is independent from your coffee. The good thing on it is that you have more, normally you have a higher efficiency. If you speed up the the flow rate, you have a higher efficiency because you have a lower contact time and you can grind finer.
That's exactly what they say to do. So I was going to ask you about this point, because I know on the IMS baskets, they recommend you grind finer. And some people have run into troubles because their grinder doesn't grind fine enough, apparently. But on the VSTs also, you expect them to run faster.
Yes.
And so you actually should accommodate and take that into account when people say, "Oh, is your espresso, you're running it for 30 seconds." A lot of people, if you've got a very high quality basket, you're going to run it for less than that. And it's going to be absolutely fine. You shouldn't be getting worried, is what I'm saying. If you put one of these baskets in and then you're grinding so fine or putting so much coffee in there that it's taking you 32 seconds or whatever to get your extraction, and you're wondering why it doesn't taste
you're
good.
Over extracting probably.
It's okay to get a faster extraction because these baskets run faster.
Yeah. And is the same reason why you shouldn't really use the same grind for a single basket and a double basket.
I actually didn't know that.
Well, if you think about it,
I never used a single basket. That's why I wouldn't know.
If you have a single basket, you have an opening at the top that is 58 millimeters, and you have an opening at the bottom,
of course,
that is
smaller,
3-4 centimeters.
Yeah.
So you have a significant restriction there, and you have a proper funnel. So you have water flowing in a completely different.
It's a completely different
way.
sort of dynamics. What's the thing about flow dynamics? What do they call it? Fluid dynamics.
It's the Bernoulli.
It's not the Bernoulli effect. It's something else.
It's not the Bernoulli effect. It's the Bernoulli law.
Okay, what's the answer?
The answer is you should grind is finer because you slow down the flow. You have to slow down the flow, and the only way to slow down the flow, it's either you have flow control, pressure control, or you grind finer. If you max out your pressure at 9 bar, which you normally do, you can't control your pressure unless you have a variable overpressure valve, which would be cool. Or you do it manually, which is hard, but it's probably more modulable. You can modulate it better than you can do with a machine. Flow controlling, so you infuse slower. In that way, you limit the flow rate, and that will also affect the pressure. And another important thing is that if you have a basket that is not straight, you will not have straight extraction, which means your water is not flowing at the same speed in all of the basket. So at the center of the basket,
okay, now I understand.
there is a funnel. At the center of the basket, your water is going to flow slower than on the sides.
Yeah, of course it has to. It's like how airplanes fly.
Yeah.
So
that it adds.
Tune in next week for how airplanes fly.
It adds a lot of complication. That.
Yeah, but look, I tell you, there's something else. If you look them up, IMS filter or whatever, and you go to their website and you look up the competition baskets, how many baskets do you think they've got? How many baskets do you think they sell?
3.
It's actually, the exact number is a lot. And it's quite a bit mind-boggling. But the thing is, I sort of think, I got to go through all of these and like look at the details and what they're different. So obviously they've got singles, doubles, a few triples, but then they've got different ones for different models of machines, and different ones. Obviously, got the 58 mils and the 53 mils, but they're pretty good. And I tell you what's worth going. I think VST did the same thing. It's worth going to take a look, because they will actually then specify, depending on what you're looking for, what flavor profile you're looking for. They'll say, get this basket and you'll need this size tamper. So they'll tell you if you need a 58 or a 58 and a bit. It's a 58.3 or something.
Yeah. One important thing, if you get the competition baskets, your 58 millimeter tamper is not going to cover it. It's going
That's what they're saying. You need to go and get the 58.3 or 58.4.
Yeah. I have a 58 millimeter tamper, and it doesn't cover it evenly. So I have to do a bit of a...
You have to do a bit of a shuffle. Yeah. And so that's quite interesting to do. But I also noted that because I started looking at some of their 14-gram baskets, and I was just saying to Sergey on the YouTube comments that I was looking at getting a 14-gram basket, and he's going, "Ah, Nick, you just put it in your 18 basket and you're done."
No, you have a much higher headspace.
And well, no, you can grind Corsair, and I mean you can play around with it. You can play. I'm going to play around with it, but here's the thing. So the
I have
IMS,
a 14. I have a 14, 12 to 14 grams. It's interesting.
I'm going to give it a go. So I'm going to get one. But anyway, so but I'll try them both. It'll actually be an interesting. Yeah, that's the thing to do. 14 grams in an 18-gram basket. How does it compare to a 14-gram basket? That's a question that no one's.
Send me a picture of the pack when.
That's a question that no one's.
Because I want to see it.
because no one cares. But I'm going to do it. So anyway, so I was looking at the IMS things at that size. Do you know who wants 14-gram baskets? Do you know who wants it? I can tell you. They didn't say it on their site. Businesses. Because if you're a coffee shop and you're not like serving the super best world-class coffee, you're not going to want to put 18 grams of coffee in. That's a lot of money you're going to throw away. If you can serve someone a double espresso or whatever it is with 14 grams of coffee instead of 18 grams, that's a lot of money. You work it out. But here's the other thing too, which I noticed, is that the IMS say on their 14-gram basket, you can get it with this kind of tapered finish to it, which it says gives more body and crema.
Yeah, because it forces you to grind finer, and it affects the flow of the coffee, because you have areas where you extract faster and areas where you extract slower.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that you know, some of these, just because you see the basket there, don't necessarily think, well, it's a 14-gram basket, I want 14 grams in my, don't think that's. Go and take a look at what its purpose is for, what it's been designed for, because they do have baskets designed for different use cases, and it might not be the use case that you're going to be using it for. So I'm going to check that out. Max, I'm out of ideas. I'm out of things to talk about. And so,
me too, without boring people.
Yeah. So Max, if you could just, I'm going to go and play with my cat. If you could just get the whiteboard out, and if you could draw that Bernoulli effect out with some charts and some statistics, I'll keep the show running. And
I'll definitely do that.
So I'm going to see you next week, because I've scheduled the panic to go in.
Okay.
If anybody wants to write an article for me that I can fob off as my own on Bar Talks, please feel free to do so. Anything we're going to be covering, issues on deforestation, sustainability reporting, the new laws that are coming in, which are going to be interesting, the very weak UK law, which we are flag waving as the first and best and like world-class leading law on deforestation and environment. It's called the Environment Bill, which is apparently pretty useless. But I quote somebody in the internal, operation as saying, it is better than nothing. Literally, that was the statement, was it's better than nothing. That's not
Sometimes
the official.
It isn't.
Not the official statement. So we'll be doing that. And I will catch everybody in 2 weeks' time. I guess that's in November.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, November already.
Even next week is November.
Oh God, is it? I'm going to get back to work. Sergey, get back to work. All right, Max. Take care, my friend. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Oh, I didn't record it.
No.
I did. Sorry, it's on the YouTube. I'll download it from the YouTube. Once again, I didn't record.
It's still live.
Still live. Hold on. I have to. Thank